2, 1. All right, let's bring in our guests for today. Excited to talk to these two. Bob Jennings and Joe Linton, the co-founders of the Legends Championship. You guys are going to be hosting the, I don't know exactly what it's called, but you will be the championship round of the Masters competition. First off, thanks so much for doing this. And the first question I have is, how did this all come about? Like, when was the first time that you had an idea, okay, this is going to happen, we're going to host the Masters CrossFit Games Championship?
Yeah.
What were those conversations like?
So I was in Italy on a family vacation, enjoying time away with the wife and kids. And I got a text message from Dave Castro saying, "Hey, Bob, we got to talk." And
that's never good.
Yeah. and what I said to him was, "Hey, Dave, I'm on vacation with my family in Italy. Can it wait? And I'll be back in 2 weeks." And he said, "No, we got to talk now." And so I said, "All right, man, give me a couple minutes." And I jumped on the phone, gave him a call, and he said, "Bob, we're looking to make some changes. We want to enhance the experience for all the divisions. And we think the way to do that is to, partner with folks like yourself that specialize in, whether it's the Masters or the Adaptive or the teenage division, and, back you in running the equivalent of the CrossFit Games or named TBD." Right. So, I said, "That sounds really cool, Dave. I got to call Joe." We make decisions together. So I gave Joe a call. I probably sent him a couple of text messages first.
No, you text me, "Hey, you're not picking up. Dave wants us to run the CrossFit Games for the Masters." And so that was like 11. That was like 11:45 at night. And
oh my God.
So he texts you back, you didn't respond. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go work now because I am not sleeping. So I went and did a workout in my gym, and then jumped in my emails and started doing some more work for this year's championship. So yeah, that was around midnight for me. And you were in Italy, yeah.
And then so was it as simple as that? Like, hey, we want you partner with you guys. All right, let's do that. Or was there, I imagine that had to be a little bit of a back and forth between you in terms of trying to iron out what that would look like for you guys, because there's still a lot of details that we don't know about the arrangement.
For sure. Yeah. And it was, we want to do it. That sounds like something Joe and I could be successful at, in partnership with CrossFit. And, let's jump on the call. Let's get the teams together. Let's start talking about what that looks like. To your point around, we still don't really know exactly what that looks like. We probably have more details than the general public, but there's still a little bit left to work out, right? Things like naming and branding is still left to work out. We can announce with you guys that we are going to be changing the date of the championship. Mm-hmm. So Legends, as you know, is held in December, and we're going to move it to be more in line with the traditional CrossFit season.
Oh, okay.
We felt like that was pretty important to stick with the regular season that's been laid out for everyone. You don't want to create too much distance between the open and the qualifiers and the championship, and have people training year round. Give the games level athletes, right, their off season. And then also we recognize by doing that, though, we might be creating a void in the opportunity for Masters to compete. And so we're still looking to have an event in December. We're going to be partnering with other folks to do that. So
cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I love to hear that. At any point, were either of you thinking that the answer was going to be no, and you didn't want to get involved with this? You've already created something that's so well respected in the community, and not that this won't be, but it's something that's so different. And right now, with not having all of the answers, it leaves uncertainty, I guess, until we see exactly what it's going to look like.
Joe, you want
Yeah.
to take this one?
Yeah. Personally, yeah, I had some doubt that if it was going to work out. I mean, we created Legends to kind of give masters a different opportunity with a bigger field than what other competitions like the games and Wadapalooza and everyone else can give them. So there was, we couldn't get on the phone with Dave for a couple of weeks. So like during that 2 weeks, it was just, what are we going to be allowed to do? How's that going to look? Is it just going to be 10? Because I don't know if I want to do that. But yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of questions that we had to work out during those initial meetings. And even from the get-go, it was very much CrossFit HQ letting us know that we're going to be able to do, nearly everything that we want to do, and they're going to support it. So those hesitations were quickly cleared up and created a really exciting start to our partnership.
I think because the question that immediately comes to mind is how much autonomy do you guys have, right? That we've gone through the sanctional system a little bit, and there was a lot of back and forth between events and trying to figure out where that line was. And I mean things like whether it's open revenue share or media and broadcast and what that support looks like, or even like sponsors and prize purse. Like, is that all stuff that was figured out already? I don't know what you can or cannot share, but like where that line is.
Yeah, so most of that has been worked out already, Tommy. A lot of it is private company stuff, right? So we're not really going to discuss any of that, publicly, certainly. I would say, CrossFit HQ has been really supportive around our ideas and our creativity. They want to expand the field, right? They really like how we offer a much larger field and can support a broader base of athletes and not limited to just, the 10 athletes. We're going to collaborate on programming, throughout the entire year. And that's really, when you boil it down, the thing that Joe and I love so much about Legends, creating and building this competition. Every year, Joe and I will tell you that the thing that we love the most is programming for the championship. Like that is, we nerd out about that all year long. And so, the fact that we're collaborating with HQ and have a certain level of autonomy, it's fantastic. It's really the best of both worlds. We have the support of the 800-pound gorilla, and we get to be, the creative little chimpanzees in the tree.
Yeah. You mentioned the word support, and when we talked to Jason Grubb, who I know very well, one of his big questions, and I think one of the big questions that a lot of athletes have, masters athletes in particular, is and maybe I'm sure you can't talk about particulars, but what is the support going to look like from CrossFit to your competition, whether it's, hey, we provide you with money, we provide you with a stream. And again, I'm sure you can't talk about specifics, but can you give us an idea of what that might look like?
So the support so initially we sent over a business proposal. That's what they asked for. And it was, kind of a idea that Bob came up with, him and his excellent business mind, with this kind of revenue share throughout the season. So they took that into account, and now it's basically kind of on their side to come back with how exactly it's all going to unfold. Because there's a lot of factors that go into it. One being, like, my biggest question is, if we secure a venue and they're going to expect a deposit within like 10 days of signing, how do we get all this money, which hasn't really rolled in yet for next year through the Open if we go down that route. So, there's a few things that need to be ironed out, but they are getting, that's what we're attacking next right now. We're in those weeds. It should be cleared up in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. And we're excited to continue down that road so we can really start getting into the nitty-gritty planning of where we're going to be exactly, where the exact dates are, all that stuff. So the support system isn't exactly figured out yet, but it's getting really close.
Okay.
And again, we don't really know what you can and cannot say. So I apologize if this is something you can't talk about. But when we are looking at dates, has the conversation been whether the Masters division will be before the individuals or after, or is it more just nailing down like between two different weekends?
So it's really nailing down between like two different weekends. I would say at this point, it's our strong preference that we go after the individuals in the teams, but not create so much distance that you lose connection between the events. But there's going to be sponsors that want to participate in both. There's going to be volunteers that want to participate in both. So we just need to be mindful of all that when putting it together. And so it's a lot goes into it, and I think it's important that the audience understands that there's a lot of thought that goes into it, not only from Joe and I, but from HQ as well, to make the event as special as it possibly can be for the Masters community. And that means, making sure it's on the right date to get the best sponsors there, making sure it's on the right date to have the biggest audience there, to have the most volunteers there. All of that kind of plays into it.
And with that in mind, I guess another roundabout way of saying it, where are some key points of improvement that you guys believe in, that you guys can help with your involvement? Because, I mean, Bob, you've been through the games experience as a Masters athlete in recent years and seen what that's like. You've obviously created an experience through the Legends Championship for a few years now, even through COVID. And so what are the places you guys are uniquely positioned to like improve upon, whether that is a more tailored experience, a more personal experience, whatever that might be?
So I think a couple of things there. And Joe, please add on to this from your thoughts as well. But the tailored experience for sure. I think Joe and I have a unique approach to programming events, and I think if you talk to guys like David Johnson, you talk to guys like Jason Grubb, they'll tell you that the toughest test they've ever gone through has been the Legends Championship. But we think we do it in a way that doesn't break the athletes, and it's done from a Masters first perspective as opposed to an individual's first perspective, which is how CrossFit has to do it. I'm not knocking them. They have the logistics of running the CrossFit Games is insane, right? Especially when you layer in the other divisions. So I think that's where we add our special touch. And I think also, quite honestly, Joe and I are a little bit more approachable. Most of the Masters community knows us, so they just feel a little, for better or worse, I guess. They feel like they have a direct connection into us, to voice their opinions, which they have many.
Well, what are some of the things that you get when this announcement got made? What were some of the things that you heard from the athletes that you deal with that you talk to all the time?
Oh, a bunch of athletes reached out right away. So my wife and I were on our 11-year anniversary, and I was trying to check out. Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to check out the hotel, and my phone is just going off like crazy. So the drive home, I was just like, I asked her to drive my truck. She didn't like to, so she didn't drive my truck. I was like, I just want to answer back, but came home to a bunch of congratulation text messages saying you guys deserve this. We're excited to see what you guys can do. And then seeing the initial, hesitation comments on Instagram and reading through those and kind of mulling those over in my head. Everyone saw those as well, but it was an exciting announcement, and I was just ready to answer questions and do these podcasts and let people know that we're going to take care of them. Like Bob said, we provide a unique experience, and like one thing I've been doing for the past couple months is asking games athletes a couple questions. Like one was, what was one workout that you weren't allowed or weren't programmed to do at the games that you wanted to do. You know, so providing some really cool workouts that maybe they weren't allowed to do, and we're going to try to recreate that for them possibly. So it's kind of always looking at giving them what they didn't experience and or what they haven't yet. So
just for
sorry, I was just going to
clarity-
say, my bad. I was saying we got to work on your guys' vacation timing, because like
Yeah.
anniversary in Italy, and that you have like the biggest announcements drop. Like, I don't know, maybe you have a different bat phone. I guess I don't know.
I'll let you talk to my wife about that.
As I said before, we're for better or worse, very accessible to the Masters community. Right?
Yeah.
No, when you were talking about the workouts that they weren't allowed to do you mean in the sense that they were tapered for the Masters division, like movements were changed, or what exactly do you mean by that?
Oh, sorry. No. Maybe it was in the Coliseum. You know, maybe it just wasn't in their program. I don't think allowed is the perfect word to use there, but it's a workout that they didn't do. I mean, generally they have at least 3 to 4 less tests overall. So it's kind of given them, because there's some really cool workouts that when I was coaching Bob at the games, I'm like, man, he would have crushed this. And God, I would have loved to see him do this. So it's those workouts that they didn't do that now that, you know, we're going to have a lot to say. We're going to push for them to be able to get a chance to get their shot at it.
So if Joe and I had only programmed the CrossFit Games, I'd be a CrossFit Games champion instead of a retired.
Right in the wheelhouse.
Oh man, I think there's a lot of us who could say that for sure.
Do you have a location yet, or can you tell where can you shed any light on that, where you might be looking at, or is that still hush hush?
We're working on it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing there, Sean, is we're trying to find a venue that is appropriately sized for a Masters event. You know, the last thing that we want to do is put it in an 18,000 person arena. Right. And then, you know, on the live stream, you see 3,000 people and it looks like no one showed up. Right. Yeah. And that just it's not fair to the community. Mm-hmm. So we have a couple of ideas. You know, the other criteria, and this may or may not end up holding, right, depending on where we go. We recognize that the Masters community, they have families and they're taking a lot of time out of their life to be a part of this. And we want to make sure that their families can go someplace that they're going to enjoy it as well. So, you know, vacation destinations are high on our list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys mentioned expansion, you know, with like having more athletes being able to compete. Another thing that popped into my head and listening to some of the stuff from WheelWad is the expansion of divisions. I don't know if that's in the field of view for you guys at all, I don't know if there's any more divisions that you could expand, but is there any other ideas around that besides just adding more athletes, or maybe even graduating it based on registration? Because I mean, the 35, 39, 40 to 44 division, you know, occupies over 60% of the Masters contingent based on open registration. So I don't know if there's ever a consideration of like, hey, you know, there's almost like a registration type representation.
Well, we operate that today with Legends, right? So, you know, like the 35s, 40s, 45s all have 40 athletes, both male and female. 50s and 55s are 30, 60s are 20, 65 plus are 10. That it'll look very similar probably at the end of the day. We want to make sure that there's the appropriate representation from everybody, but we do want to see expansion. I might get in trouble for this one, Joe. I can't remember if I'm allowed to talk about this or not, but
let's go for it.
Just throw it out there anyway. We are going to expand the 65 plus to 20. So, so those extra 10 people are going to be really happy, I guess.
Nice.
You know, we've talked about expansion in the future to, you know, 70 plus. In particular, is like this vintage of 65 plus ages up. But we want to make sure in year one that we really knock this out of the park for everybody. And so we don't think we're really going to try anything too new from that perspective.
I like that you called them vintage. This vintage was 65 plus. I'm like, ooh, this is like a fancy Bordeaux.
It's a term for that.
Yeah.
You mentioned wanting to go after the CrossFit Games, and that would be ideal for you. Why is that?
A couple of reasons. I would say one, to make sure that the buildup is appropriate for us. I think there's an opportunity, at the games itself, for the broadcast there to highlight that the masters and the teens and the adaptive are coming up in subsequent weeks, right? And I think that'll help draw eyes in. I think from a sponsorship perspective, it'll work better, because the reality of that is if a major sponsor has to choose, where they're putting their money, obviously it's going to be on the individuals, right? That's where eyes are, and that's where seats are as well. And I think it would be difficult for them to put the right level of focus on us if they had to deal with us beforehand, right? So I think having us in after allows them to still participate as sponsors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plus, I think I want to expect to see some games athletes come volunteer, be a judge for a day or so.
Oh, yeah.
Use all their expertise
That would
and
be
movement to help out the old folks. Be nice.
There's some good engagement opportunities.
Yeah,
we were talking about
absolutely.
that last. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool.
Activations and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think like the bigger companies that are sponsoring our event that'll be there will, possibly have their games athletes, in the booth signing, talking, and it'll be a big draw for more spectators. And, that's what we want to see now. It's an opportunity that we have it's an opportunity that the Masters community fan base has, is to show how much they care by, we've always said it, showing up, tuning in possibly. So it's going to be exciting to see that.
How much have either of you explored the separate opportunities of having a whole new, possibly like pool of sponsors that are specific to Masters athletes? Have those conversations already started with brands? I know Jason Grubb works with a ton of brands, and he kind of alluded to this when we spoke with him recently.
Yeah, I mean, we have been trying to bring in Masters directed sponsorship for the better part of the last 7 years, and we've had a lot of hits and misses there. I would say, and I think it's because we didn't have the backing of HQ, right? Like, this is one of those places where HQ really comes into play. It just adds a level of legitimacy that we can go to, Depends or your
God.
Walker community or whoever it may be, right?
Icy hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Buick.
Oh, Buick.
Depends.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
Buick makes some nice cars these days. A little enclave action.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like the 4-door. It's gold,
Yeah. Land a plane on it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Well, you guys still. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, we brought in Jason Ansley, who runs the Monster Game, so he works with us, full time now as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the third, partner essentially, right, within Legends, and Jason's job is really to drive partnership and sponsorship. So
everyone's focusing on next year, but you guys still have a competition you have to run this year.
oh yeah.
How has this announcement affected? And I'm not saying you can't run it well in December, but how has that affected the way that you're approaching this December's competition?
Oh, it's going well. Bringing on Jason was a huge help with him. He's also doing sponsorship and partnership for 2023. And that is a big, that's a lot of time that was normally taken out of our days that is now taken care of by a professional. He knows what he's doing. He's really good at it. So, and our title sponsor, First Form, is running gear, and they are crushing it for us this year with a ton of help. We started everything earlier, so a lot of stuff that is was normally getting buttoned up later in the year is already taken care of. So it's actually going better than previous years. So we have a lot of time to dedicate it to spending time on promoting, obviously, our relationship with CrossFit next year, planning that, see how that's going to work out. And it's actually not as stressful so far. For me, anyway. I'm not sure about Bob, but everything's good on my end.
And for people who don't know, when and where is this competition going to take place?
It's in Tempe, Arizona at Arizona State University.
Ooh.
December 7th through the 10th. 4 days. We have 420 RX individuals, and we're also bringing on 70 scaled athletes. So same age groups, 5 each. And then we're bringing on 20 teams. 2 different groups of teams will compete and have their own podiums, 10 on each side. So 80 athletes there. So 570 total.
Sorry, I gave a noise because my brother's a U of A grad, so you know we got to keep that rivalry around. We try to avoid ASU, but
has CrossFit mentioned how long this partnership would last? Is this just a 1-year test? Is this a 3-year commitment? Like, have there been discussions around that?
Not really, but we're emotionally invested in each other at this point, I would say.
Understandably.
Yeah.
You bought an apartment together. You got a cat. You know, been to Thanksgiving. Yeah, okay.
That's probably the best analogy right there, Tommy.
Yep.
Yeah.
As we kind of wrap up here with you guys, and we appreciate you doing this, what is the main thing that you want the Masters community to know? Because I'm sure there's still some athletes out there who are a little skeptical about this, but what is your message to those athletes who are still sort of lukewarm to this whole thing?
They're getting the best of both worlds here, right? They're getting, the backing of the CrossFit Games, and they're getting the attention of legends. Mm-hmm. So I don't see too much for them to be upset about, quite frankly. I know that there are still some questions out there around, what are they going to be called? Are they games athletes? Are they legends athletes? That to me, maybe I'm a little jaded on that or a little biased on that, but like, that doesn't matter. You're competing against the best athletes in the world in your age group. And now you're competing against more of them. So you're going to have to, you don't have to get past 9 people to win. You got to get past 39 people to win. And, I had a conversation with Grubb, who had a conversation with La Sala, where they were talking about, we finally got what we asked for, right? Like, now this is our event, and it's up to us as leaders of the community. I'm talking from Jason and Justin's perspective, to really, drive attendance, drive sponsorship, show up, right? That's really my message to the Masters community is we're giving you everything you want. This is all you ever could ask for. It's up to you now to come out and support not only the 23 event, but, certainly the 24 event and everything we do going forward.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, guys. Go ahead, Joe.
Real quick. What I'm really excited about is that expanding the field. As of right now, when you qualify for the games, you're automatically top 10 in the world. That is not the case anymore. So I think you're going to see some really exciting matches, some exciting battles and fights from people that, took 18th, 25th, that are going to crack the top 10. And everyone that is in the top 10 is going to have to battle to say that you're a top 10, whatever the name is, CrossFit Legends Games athlete in the world. So I think we're going to see a lot more fighting, a lot more, epic workout finishes next year.
Mm-hmm. Who doesn't love a good underdog story, right?
Yeah.
And I think, who was it? Was it Kotler, or brought up the fact that you get people that finish, 17th in the semifinals and they wind up, if they get to the games, they wind up finding themselves on the podium. So I think Masters athletes are going to there's nothing wrong with expansion, and I think it will make the competition better. I have said this before. I'm glad you two guys are the ones who are running it. The experience I've had with the Legends Championship has been second to none. It's a great event. And I will echo, Bob, what you said. Like, go support this thing. If you can get to Arizona this year, go check it out. It's a great event. Because I think there's a lot of really great potential here for the Masters community and and the teenage community and adaptive as well. So
yeah, thank you. You guys have always been great partners and supporters of Legends, and know that you guys are going to be there for us going forward. So really always appreciate you guys having us on, promoting us, doing everything you do.
Thank you so much, and
No
we'll
doubt.
have you on before December so we can talk about that competition, because that's going to be a lot of fun. But thank you for everything you guys are doing. I know there's a lot of hard work still that needs to be done, and we appreciate you coming on. And best of luck as you move forward.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.